Welcome, 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 everybody. I am Coach Les, and I am here with Mr. John Yarwood from Yarwood's Martial Arts for another edition of YMA Chat. And I want to just let everybody know we are honored and privileged to be able to have this conversation with those of you that come and click on this, watch this, view this later, look at the replays, because here we are today and the past few weeks sharing with you the information on why martial arts make such a difference in the lives of people of all ages, and especially in kids. So we are today going to be discussing a little bit about cultural awareness and the impact that this has on community service, on fun and enjoyment. So stay tuned, check it out, and I'm going to hand the mic over to Mr. John Yarwood. Welcome.
Thanks, Coach. Yeah, so a lot of what we do, all the things we've talked about in the past, they all kind of work together in concert with all the stuff that we're teaching our kids, all the life skills that they're learning, the values that they're learning, obviously the physical martial art itself. One of the things that we talk about, and because we are martial arts, we are a Korean martial art. So what we like to do is we actually like to talk about the basics of the culture and how they're learning. We teach language within the culture of Taekwondo, like what the names of some of our moves are. We talk to them about what the history of the martial art is, where Taekwondo originated, where it came from, who did it, why it came about, those types of things. So understanding kind of the background of what it is they're doing, I think creates a bigger connection to it. When they see that, they're not just coming to learn Taekwondo, they're coming to understand its origins and why it started and why it is where it is and how it's become what it is. So that way, they can expand their knowledge base of other cultures and not just kind of be stuck in this bubble of what it is that they're experiencing in their own personal life. So if they start to learn about, a different culture, I think their eyes start to open a little bit more to what else is out there. What else can we learn? What else can we start to talk about and think about in our daily lives? And what am I missing, right? What are some other things that other people are doing that maybe I can, be part of? Maybe I start to enjoy some new things that I didn't realize were available to me. So when we talk about the Korean culture in particular, we talk about the life skills that actually are learned through the Korean culture, like with respect. Like when we look at each other, we shake hands, we bow to each other. Those are all signs of respect, and they're not something that's like a religious type thing or a deference type thing. It's based in how we treat one another and how we interact with one another. And that's, within the Korean culture is a very important thing when they're interacting with each other in their daily lives. So we want them to get an understanding of that, maybe start to learn a little bit more about it and how they can implement it and integrate it into their daily lives.
When I think about it, I look at the biggest difference between Western culture and Eastern culture is that the Western culture is all about do. The more we do, the more we're going to have, and then we can be happy. Whereas Eastern philosophy, and this includes all of the Eastern cultures, Korean, Japanese, Chinese, Tibetan, there's a lot more, and even Indian, there's a lot more about taking a look at who are you being. And if you be and create being a certain way, then you're able to do certain things, which then has you have a life of extraordinary qualities. And so to go from do, have, be to be, do, have, I think is such a tremendous shift. And when you spend time in martial arts, you start to see that. You start to experience it. You start to be able to really understand and get the conversation. So for me, that's the biggest thing about cultural awareness. I mean, if you look at the Asian community, their families and how they treat their parents, how they treat their grandparents, how their families stay together, right? And they're part of the upbringing of the next legacy is so different. And yet their culture is very deep. It's very enriched. It's very powerful. And there's a calmness, there's a presence, there's a peace to it, which we in the Western culture miss. And I think that's a big missing.
Yep. And when they're learning about that, they start to realize that we have to know where we came from in order to figure out where we're going, right? We can't, if we, dishonor our elders, our grandparents and whatnot, we're disrespecting everything that they did in order for us to be here, right? And I think sometimes our culture is shallow and spread out versus, like you said, deep and rooted in where they came from. So it's important to understand our ancestry, our heritage, and understand who came before us and how we got to where we are and who we are because of those people. If we study like our genealogy, our family tree, we'll start to understand who we really are and why we came into existence. Most people don't know much about their, 2 or 3 generations back of their family. Some people don't even know about their, great grandparents or great great grandparents or where they came from. And if you're, if you're to understand who you are as a person, you need to understand how you became who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's, I don't think there's enough emphasis focused on the fact that the United States is a cultural melting pot. And there is some negativity towards that. And yet, if we flip it upside down, there's so much positivity we can gain from that. To be able to put it all together and see the benefits to it rather than looking for the hardships, looking for the problems, looking for what doesn't work, looking for how horrible history was in certain areas. No, let's take a look and see the benefits that have now come from all of the cultural awareness that has been driven into this society, all the way from the very first people that came to the United States, right? And every single cultural influx that has happened since then for all the variety of reasons. And now to see it just continues to level up as long as people are, I believe, tested in who are you being in the realm of this cultural awareness. Are you being somebody that just sits back and says, gimme, 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 because this is the land of plenty? Or are you coming into this country and going, how can I contribute? What is there that I can contribute to level up? And I think that's one of the premises for me when I look at all of the life skills that we're going to be continuing to dive into and looking at all the benefits of martial arts. It's how do I put myself into this community, put myself into this village and take the village to the next level? Not how can I come into this village and go, okay, village, what can you do for me?
Right. Yep. Service is a huge aspect of what we do. If you're not contributing to it, you become an anchor to it, and you're slowing it down. You're slowing its growth. You're just hanging on and holding on for the ride. You're not doing anything to make the community better. you're not giving of yourself. We've implemented a community service aspect into everything that we do, in so much as we even require community service as part of earning your next belt rank. We make sure that our parents and our kids are understanding how important service to others is, and that the more you give of yourself, in reality, the more you get back, right? And it's obvious that's not the reason that we do it, but that's ultimately a result of it. So we've created a opportunities for our students to be able to look for ways to give of themselves, and learn that when you give with no expectation of return, there's so many positive aspects and elements to that. How you feel about yourself after you've done something for somebody else, whether you see the result of it or not, knowing that you help somebody else for me is a huge thing. I love being able to help other people just because I have the capability to, not because I'm looking for something from them, or I'm looking for that, shot of endorphins to say, yep, I helped somebody and now they're better off for it. That's not what I do. When I help somebody, it's because it makes me feel that much better that I can contribute to somebody else's well-being and help to move them forward in whatever little way that I can. And so implementing the community service piece to everything that we do has been a huge value to everyone that comes to our school, all of our students, all of our families who are involved. We do a lot of community service, and that we raise funds to be able to help other families who maybe aren't able to afford the tuition to come and train with us. So we do events to raise money to create scholarships to be able to have those families training who otherwise wouldn't be able to. And we see the value in what we're teaching and the life skills that they're learning, and we want to make sure that everybody has access to that. So with our foundation that we've created, we've been able to supply the funding to be able to have several families train with us. And we see the difference that it makes in those kids and those students, and the gratefulness that the families have. And they're starting to give back in their own way because of the ability for their kids. They see how it's affecting their kids in a positive way, and they want to be able to. I've had the families that we provided scholarships for come to us, say, what can we do to help you with whatever, right? So we've seen that by us giving them opportunities, they've started to create opportunities on their own and pass that on to other families or to other organizations or to other communities that they're part of. And it's had that positive effect, that positive ripple effect.
And once again, for me now, this is, one of the other things that is how did we label this? A reason parents want their kids to join martial arts is this fun and enjoyment. How is fun and enjoyment part of contributing to the community? Until you do it, until you actually physically come in and do it and see the results, it is almost impossible for me to give you that experience. It's very much like I can tell you all about how to ride a pedal bike. I can tell you about the thing called balance. Until you personally discover it, there is no way that I can give you that breakthrough called balance until it happens to you individually. And for me, it's the same with understanding how much of a difference you can make as a contributor to a community. I've done mission trips, and I can't even explain the breakthroughs that I've had personally in my own life that have come from the experience of being on a mission trip. I can tell you about it. I can talk about it. I can show you pictures. But, quote unquote, until you're immersed in it, and have that experience, which is priceless. The same thing with doing a community service project as a part of your martial arts understanding of the difference you make in this world, the difference you make as a part of a community, as a part of a team. So yeah, this is a very profound for me, and a super honorable place to be in, because it's an honor to be able to step in and give that. I mean, I just happen to be lucky enough to win the lottery of being born with my mom and dad in the Western world. I mean, I didn't have any say in it.
Yep.
And I can see somebody didn't have a say in whether they were born and raised in a third world country. Right? So who am I to judge whether I'm better than them or not? And how can I make a difference? And martial arts for me has been another way for me to get connected on a level that is super powerful.
Yeah, we've seen it a lot with, our kids who we started with suggestions that they could do, right? Help your neighbor out, go to Feed My Starving Children, whatever it is. Now we're seeing the kids and the families come up with ideas about how to help, right? Their own individual, communities where they can find something that's giving to their communities. We've had kids set up, go around their own neighborhood and pick up trash, or they're finding aluminum cans and recycling them. They're helping their neighbors with the yard work, or taking the trash down to the end of the driveway for them, or whatever it is. These kids have become very resourceful in figuring out ways that they can help other people. They help within their families. They help within their direct, their actual neighborhoods, within their communities. They're at school. They're finding ways to help. They're asking their teachers, about helping in class. I mean, there's just so many different ways these kids and these families are figuring out that they can help. It's been awesome to be able to see that, versus just the couple suggestions I gave. They took it and they ran with it, and they've been doing all these things. We are currently doing within our school a push-up challenge to raise money for our foundation, and it's actually a project that one of our students, Miss Denise, has come up with as her black belt project. So when she's going to be testing for black belt, part of what you need to do is community service. Well, instead of her going out and doing physical community service, she came up with this push-up challenge to raise money for our foundation. So we're able to create more scholarships for more students. So she's having an effect in that she is developed this program to be able to raise money to help many more people. And it's been awesome to see. We've got kids who are already doing, their push-ups, they're raising money, and Miss Denise herself is leading the way with raising funds for this project. So she's not just, setting it up and letting other people do it. She's showing everybody else how to do it by doing it herself. And it's a super awesome thing to be able to see. And now all these other kids are on board, and they're wanting to start raising money and doing push-ups. They're, not only they're raising money for the foundation, but they're becoming healthier because they're doing something physical in push-ups to be able to come stronger, to have that mental effect on how they're the discipline to do all these things. So just seeing a project like that, how it blossoms into something, and now all these kids are finding other ways to do it. It's a super cool way to be able to have that community service aspect built into what we're doing.
So I think, in looking at all of this, I think there's something to be said about like reviewing now all that we've spoken about the last few classes of StreamYards, or whatever you want to call it.
Our lives.
And, I think for me, remember, because I can keep it super, super brief. Remember, physical is a conduit to other areas of life. It's a way to get out of my own way. And I think that's the piece that's super powerful for me.
Yep, that's kind of the baseline of everything that we do is, obviously we're training and teaching martial arts, the physical, actual martial art. They're learning that, but they come to realize that there's so many more other things that they're learning by doing martial arts, right? When we talk about our discipline, that they're learning to come to class on time when they're supposed to be there, to stand tall and listen and pay attention, follow directions, learning to do things outside of the dojo that they're supposed to do without being told to do it. Those types of things that, the parents see that when the kids get up in the morning, they make their bed right away. They do their homework when they get home right away. All the things that they're paying attention to and focusing their attention on that are more productive than other things that they could be doing in their lives. Building the confidence in themselves, the self-esteem to stand tall and stand up for themselves in situations that they otherwise might be scared to be part of, right? If they're being bullied, they learn to have the confidence to stand up and tell somebody to stop, to leave them alone, or the confidence in the first place, the way they walk, the way they talk, to not be bullied in the first place. So with that, they're starting to understand that they have control somewhat about how other people treat them, just by how they act and how the vibe that they give off when they're out and about, when they're in school, when they're at home, when they're at out shopping at Target, whatever. They're the way that they carry themselves is incredible, and it has a lot of power in over other people and how they get treated.
And before we leave this topic, I think and finish and wrap this up, I think there's something for you to share about. So, so many people go, oh, so you want to teach them how to fight so they can fight. And there's one thing about all of the bullying techniques and fighting, techniques that you talk about. And, for lack of memory of all of it, it's basically, to push and get away and run and make a loud noise. So
Yep.
Can you just take a minute to talk about with a little more specificity than my memory?
Yeah. So obviously, like I said, we teach physical martial art to be able to handle yourselves in a situation where you might need to put hands on, like we say, hands on with somebody. That is the last resort for us. The first thing, like we just talked about, is the confidence to not be in that situation in the first place, right? So that's step one. Step two is the voice. Our voice is our most powerful weapon. And if we're confident in how we feel about ourselves, we tell somebody to leave us alone, to stop, right? With forcefulness. That's the next thing. It has a couple effects. One, you feel good about you when you're able to project how you feel somebody is treating you. Second, it has an effect on the person that is doing something. There's a startle effect where you yell at somebody like that, they're like taken aback just a little bit, and they're like, it makes them think, well, maybe this person shouldn't be messed with, right? So you have that voice that comes out of you, that confidence to tell somebody to leave you alone, to not touch you, to whatever it is that you're dealing with, right? Then the next step is, so say somebody does happen to put hands on you, maybe they grab you. What we teach is as minimal contact as needed to get away from that situation. So if somebody puts hands on you, we teach you how to push them away from you, or to force them to release you, or however that is. And then after that, to find a way to get out of the situation, not stand and fight with that person, because the goal ultimately is to get to safety, to get out of that situation, to be somewhere where you feel comfortable and you're not in danger anymore of being bullied or being attacked or hands-on or whatever. So our goal is not to stand and fight. Our goal is to get out of a situation and get away. Maybe you're in a corner somewhere where the only way for you to get out is to fight. Then, okay, that's what we want you to do. But our goal is not to fight until that person is incapacitated or anything. Our goal is to fight our way out and get away. We don't need to take the next step where we want to hurt somebody, where we want to take them out or any of that kind of stuff. We want to make sure that our safety is number one. And ultimately, we use the physical to get to that point. And once we're out of it, we're done. We don't return an attack, because that flips the script. And now we become the bully because we got away, but now we want to fight. It's like, well, you just completely undid everything you did by getting out and getting the safety. So we teach our kids, after they get out of a situation, their hands are open. It sends a message that, hey, we're trying to defend ourselves. We're not fighting, which is what fists say.
Yeah, I think that whole thing, it's like, look, I'm out of here.
Yep.
Running away.
There's no shame. There's no shame in running away. I don't want to fight. Fighting is not fun. You get hurt. There's all kinds of things that come from it. A lot of consequences down the road that can come from it. I don't want nothing to do with it. If I have to, I will, but I would choose not to.
Yeah. It's looks like right here, our goal is not to fight, get away, make sure our safety is number one.
Yep.
Awesome. Anything else to kind of wrap up on this? Because we're going to come back next week with life skills, really get and continue our list of life skills and moving through that.
Yep. One of the things we talked about is social skills, right? A lot of our students, unfortunately, have been dealing with bullies. And a lot of that stems from the fact they don't have the confidence in themselves to stand up for themselves, but they also lack confidence in, say, making friends or interacting with other students or interacting with their teachers. They have low self-esteem. So when we teach them the confidence and build their self-esteem, they start to have more courage to be able to go and make new friends, to be able to talk to that kid at lunch, sit down with somebody else at lunch and start a conversation with them. They have the confidence to interact with other students, other people, and make more friends. And then when they start to do that, then their social group expands, right? They have more friends. They're happier with themselves. They're happier in certain situations. They like to go to school because they get to see their friends. They like to come to Taekwondo because their friends are there. So when they build that social group, it builds so much more confidence in their abilities. So when they get out, they grow up and they become adults, they're not uncomfortable. They're more willing to take a risk and make new friends, or go for that job that they didn't think they were going to get, or join that group that they didn't think they would want to ever be part of. So having that aspect of that social skills is huge for them, not just now, but as they grow up and go out into the real world.
Yeah. Well, great. I appreciate this. I appreciate your time putting this together and creating the content for this, Mr. Yarwood.
Yes, sir.
I think this is a Matt chat. I think this is a great idea. And just to let people know, if you look at this and you have a question, you can send it through all of the social media links. We're connected to Yarwood's Martial Arts on Facebook during this video. It's live on Yarwood's Martial Arts Facebook. It's live on YouTube with Less is More Coaching. And it's live on Less is More Coaching, my Facebook. So, and on my personal Facebook and on Twitter. Currently, we have 13 people watching from Twitter.
Awesome.
Is now called X, by the way, for those of you. I'm old school. I still like that name. And we want to make this available. Our goal is to continue to build awareness of the difference that martial arts can make in your life, make in your, not only just your personal physical life, also who you are as a human being, the way you be in society and community, and how you show up, for those of you that are adults, how you show up in business. Like, believe it or not, training in a martial arts, even if you start as a white belt, the difference it makes in how you show up at work, the peace that it gives you, the mental acuity that it starts to build in you is priceless. So with that, Mr. Yarwood, if there's not anything else, I'm going to close this out for this week, and we'll see you next week.
Yes, sir.
All right.